After about 15 hours, I 100%ed Terminator Resistance. I got all the achievements and beat all the DLC campaigns. So let's discuss if Terminator Resistance is actually worth your time as a fan of the franchise, or just for someone looking for a sci-fi experience. Terminator Resistance takes place in 2028, and players take control of Resistance member Jacob Rivers. Skynet is dominating the war, with Skynet's Annihilation Line making its way through Pasadena. The Pacific Division of the Resistance is wiped out, with Jacob barely surviving thanks to a stranger who saves his life and directs him to a handful of survivors who agree to take Jacob to their safe house. Here, Jacob must re-establish contact with the Resistance, fight the AI's new weapon, and attempt to end the war. Each discovery and success is constantly linked to the goal of beating Skynet. The developers help cultivate Jacob's relationship with others by providing side quests and insight into their lives. For example, Jennifer and her brother Patrick are people born after the bombs dropped and have been surviving ever since. We learned that her father allowed others into the shelter and they survived together until the Annihilation Line came. Ryan and Aaron survived Judgment Day. Ryan's a mechanic who helps those in need and honors what his brother chose not to do. He was a hunter first and didn't really want to help other people. And Erin is a nurse who's holding out hope that her husband is still alive. Jessica is the leader of the local resistance and comes off as a harsh and unforgiving person due to her experience with people who crushed her innocence at a young age, and making her decisions largely with emotion rather than logic. But she does care for people in her lives and does want to stop Skynet by any means necessary. The characters all have unique and believable personalities of why they keep going forward. You can even romance Jennifer and Jessica. Yes, you don't even need to choose between the two, which I find a bit suspicious. You would assume either one would be jealous of the other. Regardless, the system is simple and requires you just to talk to them before every major mission. Same goes for the main cast, where if you just talk to them, you slowly gain their trust. When the profound interaction towards the end of the game happens, you'll be able to decide how to deal with that situation. I'm trying to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, but you'll know it when you reach that point of the story. The developers include a choice system that is basic but effective. Eventually you'll get to a point in the story where you'll decide what ending you'll get. It's very simple, where the choice will just determine which slide you'll get at the end of the game. You can tell the developers did care about this franchise, attempting to keep the story connected to the core franchise. The writers didn't attempt to alter or change major aspects of this franchise, which is notorious for major IPs and has also been done for the Terminator franchise, but the people who handled this game honored the source material while telling their own story. It's a rare sight for the modern age of entertainment from people who think they could do it better, but the writers of this game definitely saw what came before, acknowledged that, and tried to make their own story while remaining loyal to the source material. Despite being in first person, Terminator Resistance is not a first person shooter. It's an action RPG with first person elements. It plays a lot like Deus Ex, where exploration and resource gathering takes priority. Combat does play a huge role, and the game offers an array of weapons such as traditional firearms and Skynet weapons. Skynet does have the advantage, and only plasma weapons work on the Terminators, where the other machines like spider bots, drones, and spider tanks can be destroyed using human weaponry. This encourages the player to manage resources according to what is the situation at hand to ensure you have enough material for crafting explosives, lockpicks, healing kits, and ammo. But since plasma weapons are so powerful, once you get one, it'll be hard to use anything else, except maybe the rocket launcher, but you're supposed to use that for the aerial vehicles and the tanks. Terminator Resistance is one of those games that gets easier the more you play. At first, you have nothing. You're weak, can barely craft anything, and have very limited inventory. As you progress and complete missions, you'll be able to invest into one of 3 skill trees to increase damage, use powerful weapons, carry more gear, and bypass harder locked doors and crates. Even gain access to regenerative health and upgraded plasma weapon use. As for hacking, lockpicking using the Skyrim system, and the computer hacking plays like a game of Frogger, with harder options requiring more precision, but you can brute force both options, with lockpicking having a percentage, and if you fail, you'll lose the lockpick, or using a Skynet chip for computers. Skynet forces have limited variety but are extremely dangerous. Each Terminator can slice through River's health, and the more advanced machines require a lot more resources to take down. Thankfully, the machines reward Rivers with a constant supply of ammo, crafting material, and chips. You can sneak behind a Terminator for an instant kill using a specialized knife, but these are one-time use and extremely hard to use. I never decided to use this after the first time, which required an achievement. Chips found on destroyed Skynet machines can be used to upgrade Skynet weapons based on their alignment, with each weapon giving you 3 upgrades. There's also a store where Jacob can sell and buy resources, but these are only in safe areas. The game strongly encourages stealth, but it's just terrible. Unless you invest into the stealth skill, enemies will instantly notice you. And even when you're fully upgraded, it feels slow with limited options of how you can navigate the area, hoping they just don't see you. Offering bonuses such as increased damage if hitting a target if they're unaware would have gone a long way of encouraging stealth tactics. The game does encourage you to look through the environment, as there are often an array of ways where you can encounter situations, such as even bypass an entire combat situation if you just looked hard enough. Much of the game will have you exploring multiple open areas. You'll head into a safe area, collect side quests, and head out into the main area. The game is linear, so the developers included a warning before leaving an area if you're missing out on something. Occasionally, the game will provide dynamic challenges such as Skynet facilities you can blow up and occasional patrols for enemy forces. This requires the player to explore the environment to find these, but they also allow you to locate resources much more effectively. The game constantly rewards you for being thorough. The areas don't have much environmental variety considering Skynet destroyed most of the world, but the atmosphere is on par with Terminator. The remains of humans are everywhere, where skulls and rib cages are lying just everywhere on the ground, with destroyed buildings and gray colorations everywhere. This is a dark and violent future, and the game does not shy away from this. Even during the DLC campaign, you'll see just oodles of biomass in certain areas. This is not to say the game functions perfectly. This is made on a budget and it shows. Getting caught in the environment is common, movement feels slow, and the recoil when shooting can be unpredictable at times. The interface is slow, and you cannot quickly swap between throwable items or healing kits. It also feels like the environments don't have that level of synergy. They definitely feel like they were copy and pasted. The visuals can feel dated, but all of this stems from just a AA experience. The experience never feels bloated or unnecessary, like there's just a bunch of Ubisoft-style bases that you need to constantly destroy, or minor objectives that need you to collect 100 little collectibles. Everything felt concise, and that's what's important here. It never feels like it's wasting your time, and it values the experience they were trying to produce here. There are 2 DLC campaigns, the first being Annihilation Line. This takes place during the 2-week break in the main campaign. Here, Rivers teams up with Kyle Reese along with new soldiers Farrow and Evans to rescue civilians being held by Skynet. The campaign is incredibly well done, as in the 4 hours it lasts, the developers create a profound sense of camaraderie between these characters. Kyle Reese has already had an established hallmark within the franchise, but Farrow and Evans are given enough time to highlight strong bonds between one another and how this war has taken a toll on them. Farrow is full of rage for what the machines have done to people he cared about, and Evans is losing more hope to move forward. It leads to a climactic final mission where they all place their trust in one another for one final push, especially seeing that Jacobs plays a huge role in allowing them to come to terms with what's happened in their past and hoping to find a brighter future while at the same time fixing some unresolved tension. It's very short, but it's really well put together. Most surprisingly is the developers showcase their creative juices by using so many existing assets to construct a quality campaign. It's short, to the point, doesn't overstay its welcome, and connects back to the core campaign in an effective way, while also showcasing a high amount of fan service for people who loved the first Terminator movie. Infiltrator mode allows the player to take control of a T-800, whose goal is to terminate Resistance Officer Daniel Ramirez. You'll drop into an open area, kill soldiers, locate Skynet machines, and build an intel report to find the target. It definitely feels like Dragon Age Origins spin-off DLC where you played as a Darkspawn. Here you can breach through walls, use a minigun, and even access to the red Terminator vision, which is pretty cool. It's a 40-minute rampage, but ends with a solid conclusion that links back to the core story of the franchise. Terminator Resistance is a passion project made by developers who love this franchise and execute it extremely well. The gameplay and level design feel dated, but the atmosphere and narrative keep you hooked until the end. Fans of the Terminator franchise will definitely get more out of this adventure than someone just dropping in for the experience. Regardless, Terminator Resistance shows you don't need a AAA budget to make something incredible, and if you have people who know what they're doing, properly managed, and love the franchise, you can come out with something that's truly incredible. If you're a Terminator fan, you really gotta play this. It's definitely a worthwhile experience.